What's your favorite failure? Yeah, what is your favorite failure? It's a strange question, right? But if we think about it, it just might give us the opportunity to feel inspired. It's my 21st birthday. I'm playing for Wake Forest University, one of the top men's Division I programs in the country, and I'm actually having my third consecutive start that day. It's a dream come true for me because when I got to Wake Forest, while I was a 6'3" defender and could step in and help out defensively right away, my technical skills were a definite liability. In fact, out of the 25 people on my team as a freshman, I was about 24th or 25th in technical skills. So I had a ton of work to do, but I did. I worked really hard. I persevered, overcame a lot of adversity. Even when I had lots of doubt, I'd never be able to get starts and really get some playing time. And I did. And here I am, my third consecutive start. The first two went well, playing a top 10 school, South Carolina. And I'm like, okay, man, this is your opportunity, Brad, to really have all this stuff you've gone through really pay off. Let's go. And about 5-10 minutes in, all of a sudden I had this weird feeling come over me, but in a good way. It was this confidence that was like, oh my gosh, this is the confidence I felt as a youth player my entire time. I'm like, yes, man, you are back. And I felt this confidence and just fed off it, played really well, played my best game of my life on my 21st birthday. Team played well. We shut them out. We won. I was so happy. Went out and celebrated with my friends. An incredible day. Well, 4 days later, we're playing Maryland, right? Here comes my fourth consecutive start. I'm like, okay, Brad, you have really pulled it together. 3 games, you're getting better each game. I think you're back, man. Let's go, right? So the game starts and, feeling a bit nervous. And I was used to that because I had been battling performance anxiety my entire college career. Definitely affected my confidence and my performance at times. So I'm kind of used to that feeling, but it was kind of manageable. Well, I made a mistake, a simple careless error. Ball comes to me. I'm playing right back. Poor first touch. Ball goes out of bounds. And coach goes, Miller, what are you doing? And I go, Miller, what are you doing? And all of a sudden, my confidence disappears. And what comes next is self-doubt just comes pouring back in. All those negative thoughts I was used to hearing in and out, trying to battle them about, Brad, okay, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to turn the ball over. You're going to cost your team. You're going to give up a goal and everybody's going to be mad at you. You're going to be disappointed in yourself. You're a ticking time bomb, all those awful thoughts. And I didn't have any tools to manage it. So it just kept getting worse and worse. And as you can imagine, I played more careless mistakes. And after about 25 minutes, my coach, the legendary Walt Chisowich, who almost never took out defenders in the first half unless they were seriously hurt, he's like, Miller, you're out. And when he takes me out, I'm feeling disappointed, down on myself, but I sit on the bench. My first thought is, thank goodness. Thank goodness. Are you serious? I spent 5 years grinding, going through all of that to be grateful to get out because I played poorly. But that's what I thought because self-doubt had worn me down so much. It convinced me that I was a liability. The only way I could help the team was not being on the field. And even as I tell this story, I can still feel that pain, that tinge. I can remember every bit of it because it has stuck with me. And that's one of the reasons it's my favorite failure. Now, you might be thinking, that's a strange way to describe that experience as a favorite failure. Well, trust me, for a long time, I didn't think of it that way. I just thought of it as a painful thing that when it come in my mind, I wanted to push it out. But I've learned how to change the narrative and see it more accurately and see it as both things, as something painful and inspiring. And that's what I'm going to help you do today. All right, so if we want to understand why do those past failures have such a hold on us and can emotionally hijack us so much that when we think about them, we just go back in the time machine, it's because of how our brain is put together. Our brain is hardwired for safety, not for success, not for emotional well-being or good mental health. In fact, our brain, to keep us safe, is hardwired to overly focus on the negative in the present. So we're always looking for danger, even when things are going pretty good, trying to anticipate and predict where the danger is going to be around the corner so we don't go in harm's way. But it's also hardwired to overly focus on the negative in the past. Yes, and why does that happen? Well, back in the day when we lived in caves and there were saber-toothed tigers, we were just trying to survive every time we left the cave, and it was really scary. Well, if we encountered a saber-toothed tiger and somehow got back to our cave and survived, our brain was like, I'm never going to let you forget that. It would replay it over and over and over and over and over for days and weeks and months. So we didn't forget and go back to the place where danger was. Well, that's exactly what happens to us today. Well, how negative is it? Well, I hope you're sitting down because our brain is hardwired, factory installed to have 80% of our daily thoughts are negative. 80%, right? That's a ton. That's a 4-to-1 of 4 negative thoughts to every 1 positive thought. However, we can take the steering wheel and steer our mind in a more accurate, helpful way. And that goes with not just things in the present, but also with things in the past. Okay, so what are we going to do? What I'm going to ask you to do is get some pen and paper and write down 3 ways you have grown from your failure, from your setback. Come up with 3 ways you've grown from it, how it's benefited you in some ways. Now, this can be hard, so I'm going to give you some examples. And sometimes you might want to ask other people who care about you and know you, because they may be able to help you come up with those three things. Okay, so like for example, some people will say, well, from my failure experience, I have become more passionate, compassionate to other people. I now understand why other people can struggle and how hard that can be. And I can be a better friend, a better partner, better parent, whatever it may be, coworker, that's something I've grown. Sometimes people say, I grew my perseverance. I learned how to persevere through that because I didn't stay in that permanent state of disappointment or discouragement or pain. I found a way to get through it. And so they're like, I grew some perseverance. And sometimes people say, well, it's actually become like a passion for me. And I've taken my pain, turned into purpose. And now that's what I do, to volunteer to help out in that area. Or maybe it's that's something to do as a profession. So there's lots of different ways it can help you grow. And as you think about this, those negative thoughts come in. You're probably going to criticize yourself and beat yourself up for not being able to manage it and handle it. That's exactly what I did for decades. But what you can remind yourself of is the age you were. So I was 21 years old, right? I'm not myself today. I was 21 years old. I didn't have the tools to manage my self-doubt and my performance anxiety. I didn't ask for help. I chose not to have the courage to do that. And mental, performance training wasn't something that was really going on when I played college soccer. So I didn't have any tools and strategies. So I can have compassion for myself and understanding why that was a struggle. So I encourage you to look at who you were then, not who you are today, to understand why you had some of those struggles, maybe you had those setbacks and those failures. Okay, so after you've come up with your 3 things, now I'm going to challenge you to do one more thing. And I just actually did this today for the first time when I was thinking about this talk. I want you to go back and think about that experience, that failure, that setback, and think about one thing you did during that time that you feel proud of, that built your self-respect, even if there's other things you did that you don't feel good about. Well, for me, right, we know that I felt really disappointed and discouraged in myself, that I wasn't able to manage my performance anxiety. That was my last start, right? That was the last start I had. I got some games after, that was my last start. And that's how I will always remember my last start. Well, for me, what I thought about was, Brad, when you came out, you were devastated, you were discouraged. And the person who went in for you, who we were competing for playing time, I actually cheered for that person. I encouraged them, I supported them. And I look back and say, you know what, that makes me feel proud. While I feel really disappointed about how I played, I feel proud that I was able to support my teammate, even though as they did well, that meant less playing time for me. So I challenge you, find one thing you did during that time that you feel proud of, because that's another important way to rewrite the narrative. So as we rewrite the narrative, what we're doing is now our brain says, wait a minute, both things can be true. Because again, I still feel that pain today and well for the rest of my life. And I think about that experience for me because I was so disappointed with what I did with that opportunity. But now I also can see that I've grown in lots of ways. For me, how did I grow? That's why I'm so passionate to work with athletes, right? Why I've been dedicating my life to that, because of what I went through as a player. I don't want players to unnecessarily have to suffer in silence the way I did. I understand why players are reluctant to want to kind of bring this up and talk about it, but we found so many ways to reach them and connect with them. My experience of failure is the force that burns me, or that gives me that fire that burns, so I can go and help. And that's what has helped Soccer Resilience grow. That's why I'm here today. If I didn't have that failure experience, I wouldn't be here talking to you today. Wouldn't have this amazing team of our Soccer Resilience family and all of us here wanting to help people. So that's something that came from that experience, my failure, and why I view it as my favorite failure. So today, again, I still feel the pain. And I say to myself, if I go back in the time machine, would I change it? Absolutely not. I wouldn't change it, because this is my field. This is what keeps me going, because I keep thinking about when I get discouraged and frustrated and different things. I go, hey, Brad, somebody needs you out there. Someone needs you. Somebody needs you to reach them. You got to keep going. You got to keep working. And that inspires me, right? So I wouldn't change it. If you say to yourself, you know what, I would change it, that's totally fine. We can't change what's happened, right? It's in the past. So you don't have to say you're glad that it happened to you. You can say, I wish it never happened. But since it did happen, we can't change it. Now our challenge is to say, let me just see it more accurately, not in a Pollyannish way, like, oh, that was the greatest thing ever. But no, we can have the pain and see how we grew. Both things can be true. So that's what I encourage you to do. And something amazing happens when you do this with one of your failures. It has less hold on you. You feel lighter. You feel it doesn't have that much of that hold on you. And then when you think of it, you can tell yourself, you know what? Yeah, it's not a fun thing to think about. There's also some good things in it too, and it's a balance. And then your brain will start to go, wait a minute, maybe that applies to other setbacks, other failures in my life, other regrets, and you can find a way to make more peace with some of those. And it helps you going forward, not fearing mistakes and setbacks and failures as much, because you're like, wait a minute, I'm probably going to learn something from that too. So many benefits to you to take into the end of 2023, head into 2024. Give yourself this gift for the holidays. You probably have a lot of people on your list. You're thinking about things to get them. I want you to do this for yourself. Go down, write 3 ways you grew from your experience, right? Your failure and become your favorite failure. And then think of 1 way you handled yourself well during that, or something you did, an action you did, no matter how small, that you feel good about, and challenge yourself every time you think about that. Next time that failure experience, see it in a more helpful, accurate way. And that will give you the resilience, not just as you go into the end of this year, but heading into next year. Thanks so much, and I hope to see you soon.